Hello, and welcome to another episode at Heart Wild Podcast. I am thrilled today to be sitting here with Pete Sepenuk. Hi, Pete.
Hello.
Hello. So you made it in Hollywood. You are an actor, voiceover, producer, writer, film editor. You even done a documentary film. People, they know you. They know you from Jimmy Kimmel Live. They know you. I know you from Dancing with the Stars because every time I hear you, I'm like, "There's my friend Pete." You're also known with Chrissy's Court. So you are someone that you've made it in Hollywood, and people know you for your creativity and for your talents. But I know you for your big heart. And that's why we are here today to have this conversation about your heart and the path that it has led you on. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's always great to talk to you and be a part of this exciting new format you've got here. So, thank you. Thanks again for including me.
It's great. So we actually, how have we known each other? I like to kind of give people an idea how we know.
I'm gonna go with 40 years. I'm gonna go with 41 years because we started junior high in 1982, but Lake Oswego Junior High School. Can I say that? Can I say
yes?
And so we go all the way back to 1982, and so for people that don't know, Lake Oswego is a suburb of Portland, Oregon, and that's how I know Carrie, because we were in multiple classes together and sat next to each other and had to team up on multiple assignments. And I believe it was you, me, and I think Katie Graves, now Farrick, and there was another person who I can't remember. And I remember the four of us were in some class together for the entire year. We had to team up on every project. And thank God you were the smart one, because
no, that was Katie. That was Katie.
Thank God we all deferred to Katie. Thank you, Katie.
You got us through. But you're the one that brought the creativity to the table.
I hope the creativity and trying to go with the workaround and not having to do the actual job. The work.
You were really good at that.
Subvert the actual assignment. So yes, that's how God. That's probably so 40, almost 41 years ago.
Well, but also I think one of the things that I think is great about our relationship is that we love movies, but I think we love critiquing movies. And we respect each other.
Talk about when you and I went and saw Ghost that time.
Well, we watch movies together. We critique them.
We do.
Ghost.
Right. One of my favorite moments, though, is we watched Ghost, which turned out to be one of my favorite movies. I was crying. I walked out. I'm wiping my tears, and you walk out. You're like, "That was terrible." Or something like that. That was BS. That whole movie, that ending was dumb, or whatever. And I'm going, "Wait, what?" That's what I remember about. But you and I, your love of movie. Thank God we bonded and still bond over our love of film for sure.
And critiquing them and our opinion. We respect each other's opinions, even if we don't always match.
Yeah, exactly. Even I'm the one weeping in the corner during Ghost. That's for sure.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've known you for 40 years, and ever since I've known you, you have been on your life path. You have known that film and entertainment, it is where you're going to go. And you kind of joke in school, you would avoid projects because you do a film project. You would write, produce, direct, and edit, and produce a movie or a paper.
Yeah.
So when did you know? When did you have this aha, this is my path and I'm doing it?
I think I've had a few aha moments. The first one was definitely in 1977 when Star Wars came out. Like everybody else, there's nothing to do in Portland, Oregon. All we had were the Portland Trailblazers, and then Star Wars, which was 1977. The Portland Trailblazers win the world championship, and then Star Wars comes out. So a banner year for a 7-year-old kid growing up in Portland. Where there was only 3 channels on the TV. To sort of set it up for people who don't remember. There was only 3 channels on. We had no professional sports teams except for the Trailblazers. And so a movie, they don't only put out back in the day. They put out 15 movies a year, maybe 20 movies a year in the theaters, whatever. Not that many. And so when Star Wars came out, it was like this amazing experience. And it was exciting every single time we would go. It's sort of like for us, it was like going to Disneyland. It's like, all right, we're going to go to see Star Wars. Yeah, it's like my 15th time, going to see it. So that was like the aha moment where I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to capture this feeling. And I want to try. So that's when I got into filmmaking at a very young age. My parents went out and got me a Super 8 camera, and I started making movies with the kids in our neighborhood, like all people that you know. The Fountain Boys, Scott Mills, my brother, my sister, all of us started making Super 8 films, and that we would actually tell stories in a little 3-minute format. It was before video that became so easy, or let's just say easier back then. So I sort of was an early adopter of filmmaking at age 7, and not only would I shoot live action movies, but I would make claymation movies, frame by frame, stop motion films, because Will Vinton, who had created claymation, also happened to be one of our Portland local heroes. And for my bar mitzvah, I actually got, we can't really see it, but it's back there, I actually got a claymation character from Will Vinton Studios as a gift from somebody. So yeah. So my early moment, so definitely seeing Star Wars and getting it, because I think I was like the perfect age for that movie. I think it's weird because even kids who see it now at that, Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry. God, my freaking AOL. That's right. I'm still on AOL. Oh my God. We can cut that part out.
No, we're keeping that part.
That's part. We're gonna leave that. So, even kids who see Star Wars now, sort of, I think, have a similar feeling. It sort of sparks your imagination. It creates a sort of the world. And like I said, living in Portland growing up, where I thought it rained everywhere 10 months a year, but only in Portland. It was sort of a transformative experience for me, and that's sort of what got me. So that's my first real aha moment with filmmaking, for sure.
7.
Yeah, 7.
7, you just knew that was it.
Yeah, totally. It's funny because my experience is not unique. Everyone's like, "Oh, most people are like, "Oh, when I saw the film by Jim Jarmusch," and they're like talking about independent film. I'm like, "Yeah, right. It was Star Wars." But it's kind of a populist, a commercial film, obviously, but that's sort of a lot of people had a similar experience.
It took us away, and I remember we would, talk about the films and the setting the scene back then. We would stand in line for like hours and you wouldn't even get into that showing. You were standing in line for the hour for the showing that was after the one, like.
Exactly. Are you for 3 p.m.? No, the 8 p.m.
Yes.
I skipped school, by the way. I skipped school with my brother, my friend Lance, and our friend Brian Montgomery, the day that to see the opening day of Return of the Jedi in May of that was like the greatest movie, one of the greatest movie experiences I've ever had to this day. So you had to do that though. You had to basically, there were people who had spent the night before. They had tents out in front of the Westgate Theater the night before. And by the way, the Westgate Theater, you probably know this, but most people don't. The Westgate Theater in Portland broke the record for showing Star Wars for longer than anybody in the United States. It played there for over a year.
That's a bit of trivia I didn't know, and no wonder why. You were the kid in the right place at the right time.
York, we saw it many, many times.
You were the one that broke the record. No.
Yeah, Westgate, you're welcome. But yeah, you're right. But it was such a different time back then. You couldn't buy tickets ahead of time. You couldn't choose your seats. That's for sure. So you had to get there not only early to get in to Star Wars to see it, but also get a decent seat.
Yeah, so. And it was worth it because it transformed you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you actually brought up something important because I do know this about your parents. Like, they have been amazingly supportive towards your vision. And I think that reason why I'm bringing this up is because so many people, if their kid doesn't meet their expectation of what they want their child to be, it's really hard for them to support them. And I think to be able to look at your child and love them unconditionally and support them in their vision, like, it pays off. And
oh yeah,
that your parents were, if you don't mind, go into about the role of your parents and your journey on your path.
Yeah. You totally nailed it 100%. If I didn't have such supportive parents, I was the luckiest kid ever. My parents are the best. My parents are the ones who would always be at every single, whether it was a play or a swim meet or whatever, they would be there. They would be the only parents there. I remember I performed with my high school band at Lake Oswego High School, and they were the only parents there in the audience watching, and not only watching, but videotaping. My mom was also had a video camera, and so she videotaped me. So they came to everything. They came to all of my whether it was a play or, like I said, or because I would have swim meets. Sometimes I'd have swim meets that were like 3 hours away, so my parents would take me there. So always super duper supportive, and they had obviously they had 3 kids, and they were supportive of all 3 of us. I feel like they were really dedicated to our success and dedicated to being there for us and support us. It's not easy supporting somebody who or supporting anybody who goes into entertainment, especially early on when there's jobs are it's so hard to come by. And the jobs that you do get, they don't pay well. Like when I was giving tours at Universal Studios, I don't know if we're getting ahead of ourselves, but when I was a tour guide at Universal Studios, I mean, they're paying me like $5 an hour. So I can't really live on that. So, as a teenager, thank God that, my parents completely supported me and helped out, when I needed them. So
Mhm.
yeah, they've always been, I think having the belief in me, when I've, there's been plenty of times where, I didn't even believe in me, on certain projects, but they always believed in me and they always encouraged me to do it. And they made it, I think another thing they did is they made it seem possible because there's so many naysaying parents out there who tell their kids, oh, like, I want to be a dancer. How many millionaire dancers do you know? It's like, it's just really hard to sort of see being successful in the most competitive field in the world, So yeah, I mean, I got really lucky that my parents were, there for me from day one, and still continue to be super supportive of me and my kids too. So they're awesome. Yeah.
Well, that's a great segue. Is that so Howard? Now you're a parent of 2 awesome kids. Like,
Thank
what happens if they don't want to go into the entertainment business? Like, what happens if they want to do something completely different?
They're out. They're out of the streets. No. Well, here's the deal. I mean, my daughter's already gravitated towards
I
it.
know.
She's because she's at USC. She's a cinematic arts student, and she's minoring now in music industry because she wants to combine her 2 biggest loves of music and film and potentially be like a music supervisor or whatever path she chooses. But my wife and I, Sandy and I, sort of felt like because we're in LA, like why not like try and expose them to everything that LA has to offer, whether it's when my daughter wasn't even a year old, we like got her a manager, which was ridiculous. But at the same time, she wound up working and making a little bit of money. And then when she got older, when she was about, I think, 12, she sort of hit this sort of period where she was booking, she booked a TV show, she booked a movie, she booked the voice of Lilo on a Disney cruise from Lilo and Stitch. And she was, booking national commercials. So just because we were in LA and we had these opportunities, we decided, well, you might as well take advantage of them. I just feel like, you sort of have to do it, and it's fun and it's going to be exciting. And I think at the time, like Hazel sort of had a knack for it and she sort of was comfortable. She was comfortable, as an artist at a young age. And I think Gus is the same way. And I also think that by exposing them to like one of the biggest things we do for our kids, like we take them to as many events as possible. We take them to movie screenings. Like we took them to see Raiders of the Lost Ark at the Cinerama Dome, and like Steven Spielberg spoke beforehand. I mean, that's like an exciting moment for me.
Yes, it was.
But it's also exciting for them to see that, oh my God, here's the filmmaker, this is possible. So it makes the whole event even more exciting. So it exposes them they learn about the making of the movie. They, they feel the energy in the room. It's the same thing with like going to concerts. Like my daughter is like a big concert girl. Like she's seen more famous bands by the age of 19 that I had seen by the age of like 40. It's crazy. So I think taking advantage of them, like believing in their talents, first of all, not hoping so much that they want to do this, but at least say, hey, here is this, if you want to go down this path yourself, here's an opportunity. So exposing them to opportunities, I think, is really important. I think that's something that we've been pretty good at with our kids, living in LA. And they both are obsessed with the Marvel franchise, which is, thank God I am too. So yeah, I think that's really important to sort of expose them. And if they, and continue to take them to these events and support them along the way. I mean, yeah, obviously, I know it's hard, but at the same time, it's like if this is their passion, then they should go for it.
Yeah. And it makes sense, if you're swimming in the ocean of a bunch of stars, you might as well see which, if it sticks for you. And then if they choose to do something else, at least they know they tried.
Exactly. That's the thing. That's the thing about being out here in LA. It's like you're around, and not just like my kids who are around other kids, like especially Hazel, who's at USC with other like-minded like kids who wanted to study film with her. But that's sort of the way it's been for us as adults, it's like we've grown up here since moving. God, I've been here now for 30, over 30 years. It's like you're here with a bunch of motivated people who are, in theory, supposed to be creative. They're creative, they're motivated. So you're around people who have come from all over the world to try and make it. So you're around people who are constantly inspiring you too. So I think that's also super important, to have that and have people who are still doing it, who've been here for 30 years. Because as you go along, when I moved up here in 92, and I moved out here with literally, like, I'd say 70 to 80% of my graduating class at Chapman University. And within 2 years, it was like down to like 4 of us, maybe 5 of us, as opposed to this huge group that had moved here. It's just like, it's just really hard to sort of maintain a living, let alone start a career.
And that's why you need your support group and be around you. Like, yeah.
If I didn't have my parents, if I didn't have my support group, my friends, my family, I would have moved home. I would have been like, forget it, I can't do this. And I think having an early job, having an early job when I was at Chapman, between my freshman and sophomore year, being a tour guide at Universal, made it all seem possible. Like, oh, okay, this is my first job, and that just kind of led me to think like, oh, I could do this. Plus, at the time when I was 18, I was dating a 26-year-old who was Joel Silver's assistant. So I was going on the sets of the movies like Lethal Weapon, Vacation. That made it seem possible too. That's a whole other story. But at the same time, I'm like, she was amazing. She she introduced me to this whole world that I only had dreamt about, as a kid. So that was amazing. So that like changed a lot of things too.
But you were
pick up guardian angels along the way. What's that?
Wait, what was that last part?
I said you pick up your little guardian angels along the way. They kind of take you in these places.
Yeah. But it's like when it's like LA and New York. When I was in New York, I was around all these like-minded people who were motivated, who were doers, who were making it happen, who were like, and you help each other grow, even though there's competitiveness in some elements, but there's also supportness. There's support. And it's just it helps you, it pushes you higher and definitely accelerates you, and then having the right people around you.
Yeah. And that's not to say, I love, obviously you're included, it's essentially the top of the list. I love my friends who are still who live in Portland, and it's great. And I love visiting there. But it's just, for me, it's just like, I just feel like I have to be here. And it's weird because LA kind of gets a bad rap, but I don't know. I think that I've been lucky to sort of avoid all the bad things about living here. Like, I don't have a commute. I walk, 6 feet to my studio. I don't have to deal with traffic. My kids are luckily at great schools. So, somehow we're able to make it work,
Oh, just whatever we see in one side of it doesn't mean it's the whole story.
Right. Yeah.
Actually, so has your heart ever changed path? Have you, and if it has, what, if you've been going along and questioned yourself and is this really what I want to be doing? And if you've ever come across that, what did you do?
Well, I think my heart has always been entertainment. That actually hasn't changed. What's sort of been interesting though is that I have so many interests in entertainment, whether it's doing voiceovers, whether it's producing, whether it's editing, whatever, that it changes from day to day. Like one day I'll be like, oh, I just want to edit all day. I don't want to, or I just want to do VOs for the rest of my life. I just want to do voiceovers forever. So I think that it's sort of mood dependent. It's like on one day, I'll have a bad day doing something in entertainment or in art. And I'll be like, you know what, forget, I just want to do this now. But then I wind up, obviously switching back and forth and trying to do it all. Like today, for instance, this morning I had a job at 10, for a commercial project, a new commercial product actually, and then and now I'm also producing and editing a project for a video game company, and so it's to sort of have a day or to have a week or whatever, where you're kind of doing a little bit of everything. To me is the perfect way to balance it. So trying to do everything, because also you gotta have as many revenue streams as you can now. I have so many friends who are just actors who don't have a backup plan. Either they don't And they don't have an entertainment job backup, which is fine. They don't have. I mean, they could be a contractor, or they can sell insurance or whatever. That's great. But for me, I always want to be my backup plan to always be sort of rooted in entertainment or doing some kind of a production project. So that's why at an early age I taught myself how to edit. I became a producer. And so I knew, because I knew that, I mean, the voiceover stuff took off while I was trying to be a director. The voiceover stuff really took off. So, so then, but then, there's days and weeks where the voiceover stuff is down here and the production stuff is up here, and then vice versa. So we kind of all try to balance it out there. But yeah, in terms of like my heart's always been in entertainment. It's always been in the arts. That's never changed, but it just changes from day to day, like what my focus is, which is good and bad. If I just pick one thing, I'm like, I'm going to put all my eggs, I'm just going to do voiceovers. I'm just going to edit. I'm just going to do this, that, who knows where I may have been. But at the same time, it's like, I'm really glad to have, to be able to do these different things.
Well, yeah, it's you can say that, your wound is your weakness. Like, I mean, your weakest link is, oh, I can't really focus on one, but actually that's really saved you because, and that's what someone actually in business school once taught me. You just can't have one vein, like have many different ways that the income can come in, because one of them might run dry and not might run dry. It will run dry for a while. And yeah. And you got to make sure you have somewhere else to turn on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. So, and I feel that way. Like just when something is about to be done, and then something else will come, and then suddenly I'm like busy with like all these projects at once. That happens a lot too. Or sometimes there's nothing going on. You got to be able to ride the wave. Which is not easy when you're trying to support a family. Luckily my wife also is a writer and an artist and a teacher, so she kind of she's been amazing. So we're weathering it together. So.
But even having that support, it's still disconcerting when you just don't know. Like that's part of being an entrepreneur. Life is a little more up and down, and even when you're down, well, this is temporary. It's only going to come up. But it's when is it going to come up? And no matter how secure you are, it makes you feel uneasy.
Yeah, and also it's like being a freelancer. God, I've been a freelancer now since 1995. So what is that? 20 some odd years, got almost 30 years, almost 28 years. It's been scary. I mean, what's scary is it's like, you have no idea when you're going to actually get paid from the job you do. That's like one of the scariest parts. It's like, you get paid. Like some people pay me the day I do it. Some people even pay me before I do a job. They're like, okay, good. You're going to do this. Great. Boom. Here's a PayPal or a Venmo. I'm like, great. Other people are like, oh yeah, we're going to pay in a week. And then it's like 3 months go by. So you just never know. That's the scary part, because it's revenues. Like I said, revenue streams they're all over the place.
Yes. And for anyone listening out there, please pay on time. No.
Exactly.
It's too stressful.
When you get the Venmo request, don't hit decline. Okay. Hit pay.
Yeah. The one with. So where do you think what's next for Pete? Or do you know yet?
I mean, obviously, it's like if I can keep doing what I've been doing, it's been great. There's all this new AI technology that potentially replaces voice actors. So I could be a host, or hopefully I'll continue doing what I've been doing, and continue doing it at a high level. I mean, I'm excited about a bunch of things that are happening right now. Like I have a show on Paramount Plus that I narrated all about soft rock, which is a genre of music that I absolutely love. Air Supply and Christopher Cross, all that, yacht rock of the 70s. It's about that. So that's fun. Being a part of something like that, that's like, that I can narrate, that's a passion of mine, that's like a dream project. So I'm hoping, and I think there's going to be a lot more of those hopefully down the road.
Are you in a position where you can be selective on your projects?
I mean, I rarely turn down things, most of the things I do, I would do, but it's not like I have offers coming in every second. I'm like, oh, I don't have time for that. I don't want to do this. But I mean, I can definitely select the things that I audition for. That's because I get a lot of my managers are great, and they send me a lot of different auditions. A lot of the things though are, a lot of the auditions are, they come in, they're looking for anybody now. It used to be just like, we want a male age, 40 to 60, that's announcery. Now it's like, we're looking for anybody, male, female, any ethnicity, it's got to be conversational. It's got to be, you can't sound silly. It's got to, it's got to be real. Or a lot of it's like, it's got to be youthful, so the specs for VO, those have changed a lot over the past, and they're just the opportunities for the big announcer type, which is sort of how I got into it to begin with. That's changed. But, at the same time, it's great that others are getting opportunities, and they've like changed a little bit, but I still have my niche, which is good. So, but yeah, I mean, hopefully I'll continue to do what I've been doing, but, on a bigger scale and more of it, that's the hope. That's the
Yes. Well, you're on your path, and you've been on your path. Is there anything that you were like hoping that I was going to ask you and I didn't?
What's my sign? No, I think you covered it. Did I cover the path?
I think you did a great job. You just basically, you're blessed because you've known your path, but this is encouraging to hear people. It's encouraging to hear, like, hey, once you hear it, stick to it, and your dreams do come true. I mean, I know there's a lot of work, blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, but
you got to surround you got to surround yourself with supportive people. You got to surround yourself with people who aren't going to be toxic and tell you like to stop and do something else. I remember I had a couple people before I even got into it say, you know what, don't do this. Don't do this. It's just so hard. And the other part of me is like, of course, they're like, oh, I'm going to prove them wrong. So there's a little bit of that there, but at the same time, you just like, try not to be around people who are, going to sour your path.
Yeah. Yeah. I was dating someone once, and I was in low point, and I actually said, I think I'm gonna just blow it all off and become a truck driver, and I'll just drive across the United States listening to books. And he kind of he didn't really talk me out of it. He was just like, well, is that the job you want?
It does it. That doesn't sound bad. Depending on what you have in the truck, it doesn't sound bad.
Exactly. As long as I get to pick my books. But I realized that wasn't the right person for me. I needed to be with someone that's like, hey, let's figure out why you're feeling bad and what can I do to bring you around so you feel good. And
it's so funny you said it, because it made me think of like there's a fine line between being a realist and sort of living in like a fantasy world, right? It's like you can like, this is what I want to do, this is my path, this is my fantasy, this is where I want to be. And if somebody comes along and totally derails that, then that's like crushing. But if they come along and you're like, okay, I can see that, but maybe let's be a little more real, but do this, this, and this to make it happen. If they just completely crush it, that's one thing. But yeah, that's sort of how I've lived my life. It's like the fine line between living in reality and living in a fantasy world. You sort of need to sort of accept when your path isn't going exactly where you want it to go, right? And then you need to make an adjustments, but you got to still keep the dream alive. So it's that whole thing of like, don't burst my bubble, let me live in my little world.
Yeah, well, and it's like, and they might not have to understand your little world, but they have to understand how important that little world is for you, and to be able to like not bust your bubble, to like keep that bubble from busting.
And then to not burst my bubble.
Don't burst my bubble. Keep me going. Keep me flying high. But yeah, but being and a good friend or a family member is the one that keeps you real. Like, okay, that's a good dream to have, but let's think of exactly how we're going to go about it versus letting you just go.
Yeah, and I said I can't think of very many people that have been as supportive of me, and hopefully I've been as supportive of you as you've been to me since we were young. So thank you for supporting me, and also like supporting my documentary back 10 years ago, which is, can you believe it's almost been 10 years? And it's unbelievable, and hopefully I've been supportive of you and all the amazing stuff you've done.
Of course, that you are one of my dearest friends, and actually that's why I have you on this podcast today, because you like I said, you have the biggest heart, and I wanted people to see that side of you. So thank you so much for the conversation, and until next time.
Thanks for having me, Carrie.
Bye.
Bye.